Hey, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, there we go. Thank you, Rusty. Okay, I will leave the camera alone. Apparently, it's just going to be one of those times where I can't seem to get it adjusted to where I want it, so we're just going to go with that. Now, like we figured out in the last one, I'm going to try and talk towards the camera more so it doesn't look so creepy. Okay. So let me see here. I'm trying to... Can you guys hear me okay? Is there a lot of lag? I can see that my video is coming up laggy on my end for some reason. TK won't be able to make it because of spinal surgery. Gee whiz, dude. Yeah, take it easy. Yeah, spinal surgery is no joke. A friend of ours actually just ended up in spinal surgery, and he's doing better now. A lot better than he was, that's for sure. And all right, thanks, Marvin. I appreciate that. So, okay, so there is a lag going on. I'm not quite sure what's up with the internet connection tonight. It's been kind of spotty most of the day. I tried to go and do some uploads earlier and it crashed, so we'll see whether we can hold it tonight. Rusty Allen says 4 surgeries. Rusty, I'll word it to you this way. I've never gone into a scheduled surgery, but I've had over 40 plus stitches at this point. Alabama. Good to see you, Doug from Alabama. Hi, so yeah, we got 8 people in so far. We're doing pretty good. We'll see who kicks in. If you guys want to post up comments and questions and stuff like that, feel free. I do the best I can to go down through. I don't mind a couple of YouTube questions on how things work, or if you want to go and ask a question about an engine or something like that, or one of my builds, if you have a question that you'd like answered that's not covered in a video or you just didn't catch it or something, you know, that's basically what this live chat is for. My goal with the live chat is to get to the point that we're able to help each other with being able to answer questions, whether it's a lawn tractor, whether it's something you saw me do on one of the vehicles here and you want to know a little bit more about what was done to it. We've actually got some vehicles expanding on the channel. The wife's going to be selling off the Traverse, and she ended up buying a Yoda. She bought a Toyota Tundra pickup truck, and she bought a Toyota Tundra pickup truck. It's a 2003. It's got a 3.4 in it, standard transmission, 5-speed. It really should be a nice little vehicle. It's beautiful. I'm gonna have to go and make sure to post up some pictures of that at some point. On top of that, we also ended up picking up a red Ford Explorer. It's a 1998. It's one of the sport package series, so it does have OB2, like, luckily, in order to be able to read all the stupid sensors that they put on everything. James, I like the wheel horse pictures that you sent. They're really cool. We don't see wheel horses up here in Maine very often. They're very, very unicornish, ironically, using that term to describe something called a wheel horse. Let me see if I can bring that around just a little bit further. There, that looks a little more square. Maybe. I don't know. I need to do the camera setup next time. Sorry, guys. What kind of, let's see, Marvin Clayton, what kind of cameras do you use? I actually use a GoPro Hero. Um, I like it. It's nice. I like being able to use it in 2.7K mode at 60 frames per second. And what's nice about the 2.7 that's on the GoPro Hero, if you get the upper level one, is that almost everything on Facebook and on YouTube and stuff like that gets downgraded to 1080p anyway. So if you go to edit your film that you're shooting at 2.7, you can zoom in on a section of the film. Like if you're shooting this kind of area, you can zoom into up in here, and the distortion across there isn't it isn't very much, and so people don't notice it as much. I also shoot with a very fake 4K camcorder. I had a bad learning experience with $200 or less camcorders, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that you got to drop $400 at least, if not into the $500 to $600 category, in order to get something that honestly actually shoots 4K. Because the problem is what all of the sub $200 category 4Ks do is it's software driven 4K, which is fake, and it makes an amazing difference editing real honest 2.7 in 4K versus fake software rendered 4K. It makes a huge difference in the way that the editing works and everything else. Let's see. How did you fab the front end on the Mud Wizard? Actually, if you go back through, Doug, and you look up the term Mud Wizard when you're searching my channel, you'll find all of the videos will come up. And I think it's the third or the fourth video in the series. It shows exactly how it is I made the front end. For anybody who's curious about that, the Mud Wizard is my mud mower build that I recently did this year. And the front end on it is actually based on the suspension of a 1990s two-wheel drive pickup truck. They use what's called I-beam. They use what's called an I-beam front end, and I-beam suspension allows you to have extra travel in your geometry and allows you to run a shock or a coil over the top of your steering geometry without having to have the A-frames and everything. And it works really, really well. I had to reinforce it and go from there, but otherwise than that, I've been pounding around on it. Actually, I had it out today and I was going down the driveway, bouncing it off of potholes just to see what would happen. And it worked out pretty good. I might show a little bit of footage of that later. I might go down and shoot some pothole slamming footage just to see what kind of wibble wobble I get out of it. Still thinking on the sprocket swap, that hot rod of mine. Still got OB1 on my truck. The Jeep Cherokee that I have that I'm going to be fixing up, that doesn't even have an OB port of any kind. You actually have to do like this weird key ignition thing in order to get it to do the flash code on the dash, which is really cool and fun to go and read. We actually diagnosed an alternator remotely. I taught my wife how to do it over the phone, and she was able to diagnose it was the alternator. And I had already purchased an alternator ready to go by the time we got the vehicle back home. And I had her up and running and able to go and drive out the next morning because we were able to do the code remotely. Watch out for the frames on the Yoda. Actually, that's going to end up being covered in one of my videos to come up when I shoot a little walk around on the Yoda that I got. It's actually one of the series that went through the frame recall. So the entire frame, is replaced. It was done 4 years ago by the last owner of the truck, and so the entire total frame is all brand spanking new 4 years ago. The previous owner had it coated underneath, so it's in really amazing condition. I can't wait to go and get a video of it and stuff. I got a couple of things I'm still tinkering on with it, and after that, we'll have it up and running. Well, actually, it's technically up and running. My wife drove it to work today, but we'll get it up there. Any tips for a beginning YouTuber? Asked by Old School Repair Shop. My beginning tip that I will give every single beginning YouTuber is egos kill. That it's got nothing to do with how you shoot your video. It's got nothing to do with your audio. It's got nothing to do with the name of your channel. Egos kill. You're on a learning curve when you first start out in YouTube. The biggest thing that's weird about YouTube is that you'll never end up hitting the two same videos that end up going viral. And what I mean by that is that if you have, let's try it down here. See if this works. Hold up. There. All right. So if you have the same two videos that are done exactly the same, and you have one that was viral, and then a year later, you produce a very similar video, this one will never do as good as this one. YouTube is a changing market. It's a stock market. And you have to continuously be willing to shift with the stocks. Like right now, I've started doing a lot more of the Power Wheel stuff, the gas-powered Power Wheel and stuff like that. It's because that's the way the market shifted with my channel. And as it is right now, once I get myself built into, I guess we'll say, a certain income bracket, then at that point, I will shift into doing more stuff that I want to do or more fun for me type stuff. But the problem is I got to hit that bracket first. And that's part of the problem with YouTube is you can't always do what you think is going to be the next fun thing. Sometimes you have to shift it towards where the market and the stock value is. As far as video shooting, a YouTuber, like, you know, quote unquote hint, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 tripods. I've got one dedicated mount, 2 dedicated mounts. Set yourself up consistency. Set yourself up so that you have points that you reference, that you know that if I park a tractor here, it is in this spot in that video if I put the camera here, because people love consistency. Okay, let's see what we can find for the next question here. Do you want to trade your 80s F-150? No, that's Papa Smurf. Papa Smurf actually has He's got a Rock Crusher transmission in him with a 4-speed, and he's got a 351 Windsor board 40 over with a stroker kit in the top. No, I'm not selling the truck. The goal is to get the truck back on the road. Similar to my Monte Carlo, that's going to be a goal this year, is to get that at least running and driveway wise, get it out and be able to go and test it out and see what's going on, and then start doing some work on that. I've got a name planned out for it. I've got a lot of ideas for it. We're going to start simple, and then we're going to work our way up, just the same as we do on the Mudmore builds on the channel. Ben Walker says, wait. You mean to tell me you can make money on YouTube? The answer to that question, Ben, is yes. You can make money on YouTube. It's based basically on 1,000 views, you make a certain amount of money. So for every 1,000 views you get, you basically make a certain amount. Your subscriber amount that you have regulates where it is that you end up for that on that amount you make per 1,000, and it goes from there. So yes, you can make money on YouTube, but it's not for everybody. All right, well, while we're sitting here and we're waiting for more questions to come up and stuff, I thought I'd show you guys a couple of things. So I thought this would be interesting. You guys might have seen this in the thumbnail. So I started getting new stickers. We're going to be sending out stickers. And actually, if you guys want a sticker, I'll make you an agreement. The first 10 people that manage to go and send me an email. First 10 people that send me an email, you have to have your name and your address. I will send you a sticker. Okay, first 10 people. And no, I'm not going to tell you what the email address is. It's on a whole ton of my videos. And if you've been kicking around, you should know it. So send me an email. First 10 people that come through get stickers. How's that? Oh, so while we're on the aspect of free stuff, on the giveaway, it was Calvin. I am so going to mess up this last name. Calvin Fung, F-U-N-G. All of you figure out how you would pronounce it. Calvin Fung from Richmond, British Columbia, Canada. Calvin, if you're watching this, I want you to know I sent it. It was expensive. I hope you really enjoy it. Yeah. Let's just say giveaways going to Canada are expensive. I won't be sending any heavy items to Canada from now on. I will try and keep it to just stickers or lightweight items. Let me see. So if you okay, so we got like 12 people in here. That's interesting. We're kicking lower than we were the last time, but you know, it's still the end of winter, so we'll see what happens. Hey, do you guys want to go and see the snowblower thing here? I've been working on the GT6000, and I've been working on getting the front PTO set up, my Redneck PTO. And the Redneck PTO was interesting. I don't want to show off too much because I want like a reason for you guys to go watch the video, I guess. But here we go. Let's see. Okay, so I deliberately bought a 6-foot extension USB cable, and I patched it in on the other side of the camera. So we're going to pull this around and let's see if we can drop it down and be able to see stuff. So let's see here. If I pull this sideways and then I drop it down, maybe. Nope, guess that's not going to work. All right, well, you guys are going to have to put up with me grabbing it and throwing it around by hand again, I guess. All right, here we go. Doot, doot, doot. All right, so there's our Redneck PTO that comes down. We've got our control here so that we can lift it. And let me extend a little bit more cable here. Here we go. That way you guys can make fun of all my booger welds. There we go. What do you think of that? You think that looks pretty decent? I actually took it for a test drive today and ended up gouging it down into some of the snowbanks and stuff. And I'll let you wait to go and see the video. But yeah, you know, nothing ever goes the way you expect it to when you're building and fabricating something fresh or brand new or something that, you know, wouldn't normally be done. I got to find one of my ginger ales. Oh. All right, we're not being original today. It's just a regular Reed's. Nothing original. Sorry, guys. Oh, we got 132 Hoons. Just sent my email for stickers. Good job, Hoons. Looks like there's at least 3 of you that are after stickers. That's good. Now, we'll get some stickers sent out to everybody. We're going to work on getting those out. And I just got in a 500 watt electric motor. We're going to pull the electric lawn tractor build back out of the snowbank as soon as we can. And if I can get that out, we're going to see if we can goose it up quite a bit. You know, I got a couple of gears for it, and we'll see what we can do. You should put a slip clutch on the PTO to keep from hurting something. That's a very good idea. I should. You get points for that one. Hey, how are you tonight? You know, I've been asked that about 5 times already, and we're only 23 minutes and 50 seconds in. I'm doing pretty good, actually. It's been a long day. My wife at this point is working on a schedule where she ends up having to be up at around 6:30 in the morning at this point, and by the time she gets ready, everybody gets off to work and everything else, and so she has to be up at 6:30. Mateo has to be up at 6:30. Riley has to be up at 7:30. By the time I end up getting everything ready and everybody out the door, it's about 8:30. So yeah, it makes for an interesting morning. But by that point, I'm awake. There's no going back to bed, so I end up out here in the garage, which means you guys get to see videos and I get to make stuff. So it's a win-win in the end. I make way worse welds on a mower deck, nonetheless, by Ben. Man, I tell you what, over the years, I have seen some horrifying welds on mower decks. I don't understand why it is people don't ever bother cleaning up before welding in the mower decks. They do the most horrible welds, and then inevitably they're just blown back out later because they never cleaned up anything, or it's amazing to me. And why is it that they don't just take 5 seconds to put some Rust-Oleum paint across everything and seal it? Because they booger weld the snot out of it. They're using a flux core most of the time, so it's all covered in flux, so it flash rusts. And then half the time they're using something else, and it yeah, it's weird. It I don't get it. 18 people watching, everyone hit the like button. Sure, smash the stupid like button. You know, that's one thing I have figured out in all these years of YouTube is that that like button is, if you guys want to know what the like button actually does, in all honesty, you actually should know this. So when you hit the browse option, when you're when you open up YouTube and you open it up to a regular standard YouTube browse, not your subscriptions, but your browse, the videos that you have chosen to hit a like on, YouTube has already keyworded them. And the more videos of a certain keyword type that you have hit a like on, the more of that type that it ends up keywording to your page. So if you hit likes on live streams consistently, YouTube will decide to set your homepage as more towards live streams and less towards, say, lawn tractors. So that's really what your like ends up actually doing. Ironically, it has nothing to do with my video. It has nothing to do with helping my video. It has to do with YouTube making as much money as possible by getting you to watch videos as long as possible by using your likes to show you what it thinks you want. Hoons is from Hoonigan Drifting. Oh, okay, okay. Like the Hoonigan's Garage channel? I'm assuming that's what you mean. Unless there's another reference there. I apologize. I don't get into drifting very much. Up here in Maine, we drive in the wintertime, which means almost everybody is a drifter in Maine for about 3 months out of the year at least. I drive a two-wheel drive pickup truck. I have been for almost 13 years now. And that's how you survive most Maine winters, is learning how to drive like Ken Block and pretending that there's a yellow line that you supposedly give a damn about. But you know what I mean. All right, let's see. Let's see what we can find for what's the next question down here. I had to fill a hole the size of a quarter and had never welded before. Looks so bad, but it held together. All right. You want my 5 seconds worth of redneck welding advice for that quarter size hole? Here it is. Okay. And I'm being totally serious. I'm not trying to go and give anybody any issues or anything. Seriously. What you do is you take a piece of copper pipe. Okay. Take a piece of copper pipe and you cut off a piece probably about 1.5 inches long. Okay. About 1.5 inches long. And you smash it with a hammer. Okay. You take that piece of inch and a half long piece of copper pipe, you smash it with a hammer. Okay. Then you take a nail and you drive that nail right straight through it. Okay. Right in the center. Punch it. Okay. Now you take and you put it in underneath. Okay. So let's say this is your hole that you're working on. Okay. You're going to put it in underneath so that that nail goes through that hole. Okay? So you got the nail going through that hole. You hold it with a pair of pliers. Grab onto it, hold it just as tight as you can, and you weld all around that outside seam until you end up hitting the nail, and all of a sudden that piece of copper is going to drop out through with the nail head if you're burning in. Or you flip it over and you grind the piece of copper off, or you just leave the stupid piece of copper. But that right there, that is the easiest way I have ever seen anybody fix holes through frames. I've seen them fix holes in lawn tractor decks, all of that. Piece of copper pipe, smash flat, drive a nail through it, hold it with a pair of pliers, and bzzz, right around it. Simple. Copper, for some reason, reacts with the welder wire or something. I've never really understood it. All I know is it buffers it and it keeps it where it's supposed to be. I would like to build a drift mower, says Old School Repair Shop. You know, I get the allure of a drift mower. It's just, if you don't have a place to drive it, why build it? I just have never been able to understand that. You know, it's one of those things where there's no place to go and drive it around here, so I don't know why you would want to go and build one around it. I have got to figure out in this live stream thing whether there is a way to like split screen this thing or something. Because I'd love to be able to go and show it so that you guys can see what's up on another screen or something. Hey, I got an idea. Let's see if this will work. See how stupid I can be about this. Sometimes it's a simple solutions. Let's try this. I've got a screen that sits up above. If you've ever seen my Instagram, I've got a couple of pictures of it. So let's try this. What happens if I lift this up and I rotate this? Let me pull this off. Hey, there we go. I think we just invented the redneck split screen. I can even bring my clicker up here. There, cool. There we go. So I'll dump you guys the manual here. So this is the Peerless manual that you can get online. Aha, there we go. Awesome. So there we go. We figured out a way to go and redneck up our split screen problem that we were having. Cool. All right, so now we can actually see the different transmissions and stuff. That's cool. Huh. Okay. Well, there we go. So we came up with a redneck fix for that. That's good. Glad we figured that out. because that allows you guys to ask a question. I can be able to throw up a photo or something, or I can be able to scribble at it or point a finger at it. You know, the all-important finger. I don't do impersonations very often. I probably shouldn't. All right, let's see. What do we got going on down here? We got... Hoons is like people who like to send it. Okay, I can understand that one. Okay, so hoons is like people who like to go and gas it, send the throttle. I got that. Okay. Yeah, we call that get her dones up here. If you're a get her done, you're somebody who's willing to mat that throttle as just as far as it'll go. And yeah. Yeah, if you label somebody as a get her done, they've probably blown at least a few transmissions or an engine or something like that. I get the hoons thing now. Okay. Well, thanks for enlightening the northern redneck here. Nice trick. Would have been great to know that one 20 years ago. Don't feel bad. I only learned that trick about 3 years ago. And I've been welding since I was like 13 years old. My first welder was a horrible little Campbell stick welder, Campbell, whatever you call that Walmart welder. And but don't know if split screen or not. We can see your screen, but could not see you till you turn the cam back around. That's because I actually physically pulled the camera up and I pointed it at the other screen. Like right now, if I pick it up, I've got Peerless Transmissions up here, so I might be able to point it at a particular one. See, that's what I meant, was being able to go and put something up on the screen and being able to show you guys. I really wish I could figure out a way to do it here on the live stream. Maybe I'll set up a private one later and I'll play with it, see if I can figure it out. But, oh, the link that I posted in the chat is the Peerless Transmission link that I have up here on the screen right now. I use it to reference all the time. You know, for the most part, I can pretty well rebuild most transmissions with my eyes closed at this point, but every once in a while you get that one time where like you get a washer that's not where it's supposed to be. Usually that happens to me when I'm dealing with MST 203s converting over into 205s and 206s, because there's washers that are in between the actual shift gears that are different in a 203 than they are in a 205 and a 206. So, you know, it's always good to have that reference there. Oh, hey, I know what I was going to offer you guys. So, everybody knows the Hyundai Santa Fe. I'm going to be cutting it up for parts, and I have no intentions whatsoever of ever owning one of these ever again. The Hyundai Santa Fe, whatevers. So if anybody wants this, I will make you a deal. If you can send me a picture, a selfie of you in front of your Hyundai Santa Fe that this goes to, I will send this to you. Send me an email with a selfie photo in front of yours. I'll send it. I'm going to bet none of you have one, but maybe somebody will watch this live stream in the next 6 months or something, and they will have one. But if you can send me a selfie photo in front of a Hyundai Santa Fe that goes to, I will send it to you. because I'm never going to own one of those ever again. That thing has been absolutely the most atrocious vehicle I have worked on in a long time. I've blown out so many different wheel bearings, and I have had nothing but issues with the transmission. Those CVT transmissions that they're putting in stuff nowadays are just absolute stupidity. I get where they were going with it. I can understand where the mechanical concept of it was going, but the CVT setup is just very flawed. And it's a situation that anybody who's ever driven snowmobiles, anybody that's ever driven snowmobiles on a regular basis and worked on snowmobiles on a regular basis would have totally just shot the first person that ever came up with the idea it should go in a vehicle. Like, there isn't a person alive that has driven snowmobiles consistently that doesn't know that your CVT eats belts. So why in the world would you put something, whether it's mechanical or not, why would you put something that is a known belt eating function into a vehicle made to do 200,000 miles? And I'll tell you why. Because they don't want it to do 200,000 miles. They want it to make about 100,000 miles, and then for some moron like me to buy it and have it blow up and have to go buy another one. That's why they really do it. But there's a whole ton of CVT transmission vehicles up here in Maine. Maine eats CVT transmissions. It's something about the way that our roads are, or something like that. The Volvos with CVTs, the Subaru Foresters with CVTs, the Hyundai Santa Fe's with CVTs. Our conditions up here eat them. They eat them alive. And they constantly end up wearing out. You'll see them all over the place. Engines will be running great, but that transmission is absolute junk. And the big flaw also that's in the CVTs is that the belt within the CVT, yes, it's mechanical. It's a metal belt. In fact, when I rip apart that Hyundai, I intend to go and gut that stupid thing because I want to see exactly what it is. It's caused me so much torment for the last like 4 years. But it's a metal belt, but it wears down on the edges because of the clamping setup that a CVT uses. And so eventually the chunks of that metal belt goes through the filter system, clogs the filter system. And then on top of that, your filter in a Hyundai Santa Fe for your automatic transmission is not replaceable. It's a lifetime filter. Are you kidding me? A lifetime filter. I can't believe it. There's no such thing as a lifetime filter. But yet, that's what Hyundai did with these Santa Fe's. And so that's why all of their automatic transmissions are just eating themselves apart, because eventually the filter clogs up, it's in the rear of the transmission, and you can only change it by ripping the entire transmission out of the vehicle. It's the stupidest thing ever thought of. Let's see. Hola, señor. Pequeño hablar español. Muy pequeño español. I'm sorry. I don't know. I can't tell what it is you're saying. It looks as if it's Spanish. Maybe use a Google Translate and drop it in, whatever it is you're trying to say. I'd gladly try and help you through a Google Translate or something, I guess. Or maybe I can drop it into Google Translate and we can find out what it says. I'm not sure. No, because the problem is I need to know your original. I need to know your original language, and I'm just guessing it's Espanol right now. Yeah, the Subaru Foresters at this point are using CVTs. The Subaru Forester from 2000 and crud. I think it's 2001 on. I'm not quite sure, but it's part of the reason why it is I didn't buy into a Forester And I've just decided I'm going to rebuild my Jeep Cherokee, which is better than a Forester as far as I'm concerned anyway. But, you know, we're going to go with that. But we'll see. What do I think of a Subaru Robin? I'm not sure I know what a Subaru Robin is. Give me 5 seconds. Okay, let's see what a Subaru Robin is here. See, this is where I wish I could have a split screen, because then I'd love to be able to just show you guys. No, Bing, leave my computer alone. Great. All right, let's try this again. I am Brazilian and would like this video. Awesome. Hola, Brazil. Actually, on my YouTube channel, I've got quite a few different people there from foreign countries. We've got Belgium, Spain, Germany. I've got a Russian guy that occasionally sends me stuff. On top of that, I've also got a couple of guys from Australia that get a hold of me. I've got guys from the Keys that get a hold of me down in the islands and stuff. Apparently, down in the Keys, the Craftsman LT2000s were, no, LT1000s, the Craftsman LT1000s that I like to build mud mowers out of, apparently were imported to the Keys back in the 90s, and there was a whole bunch of them. And they apparently used them for rearranging boats and stuff down there. And they get a hold of me in order to ask like different things about the transmissions and things like that. That's really cool. Like some guy on an island sipping margaritas wants some redneck from Maine to go and help out. And a Subaru Robin. Oh, do you mean the engine of Subaru Robin? Oh, I think they're cool. They're interesting engines. I mean, I've got a Subaru engine sitting right there. I've got a 4.5 sitting over there on the shelf that I've got to rebuild this year, actually. What's the biggest engine on a mower? The biggest engine that I know of that you can buy, I believe, is a 42, but I think it's only on 0 turns. I'll have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's a 42 horsepower Briggs horizontal V, if I remember right. I think Briggs and Kohler were going at it back and forth in late 2000, and somebody says there's a 50 horsepower Kohler. Yeah, see, Briggs and Kohler for a while were going back and forth on who would make the most horsepower in the back of a 0 turn mower. It was one of these pissing contest things that they did, which is why Kohler came out with the fuel injection mowers. I think it was 6 months or a year before the Briggs and Stratton ones, because they were trying to squeeze the 2 extra horsepower out in order to get the next jump on Briggs, because Briggs and them had been going back and forth, and then they hit a certain point where they just could not do it without electronic EFI, which is why it is Kohler decided to jump into the EFI before Briggs did. And I believe it was that order, or maybe it was Briggs did it first, but they never increased the horsepower, and then Kohler did. But you get what I mean. Hillbilly ATV says first time to live stream. Hey, welcome. If you're new to the live stream, I'll put it out there that if you want to ask quick little questions about stuff, feel free to throw them up in the comments. I'll do what I can to go down through. I try and do the live stream from 7 to 9 o'clock. If you're just tuning in, So it's about a 2-hour live stream, depending on whether the comments keep going. So if you guys keep comments kicking through and we still got topics to talk about, I've got a couple of items I might bring forward and show you, things like that. But feel free to keep them coming. Let's see. I have a buddy with a 383 stroker and a John Deere lawn tractor. I think, Ben, that he was talking about like legitimate made, not embedded. We're going to go with embedded as a term. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Let's have a controversy discussion. Down in the comments, let's blow up the comments on your thoughts on this. Okay? Blow up the comments, your thoughts on this. Liquid tape. Do you think liquid electrical tape actually works? Is it worth anything? Do you use it yourself? Would you recommend it? Feel free to blow up the comments because I'm really curious what you guys think on this. I personally, I end up using it on a lot of things, and you're probably going to laugh at what my most number one reason that I carry this in my shop is. And I'm going to let you feel free to take a jab, but this is why I carry this most of the time in my shop. Fords in the 90s got obsessed. They got obsessed with vacuum hose controlled items. And the vacuum hose controlled stuff was like the heater. They had shift actuator stuff that was controlled by vacuum. In the 90s, there were all kinds of different things that were controlled by vacuum. And this right here is my favorite way to fix vacuum leaks long enough to get it up and running and drive the stuff when I need to. And so if I think something has a vacuum leak, or I think that it ended up popping, or I can see that it's cracking out on the vacuum connector or something like that, with the motor off, I lather it up with this, and then I let it dry, and I kick it over and I drive it out of the woods, drive it out of the driveway, drive it wherever it needs to go. But this is my number one way to fix vacuum leaks on engines in order to be able to get it home. I love it. What engine do you like, Kohler or Briggs? What I like versus what I can't quite think of the right way to word this. So let me say it this way, okay? When it comes to what survives here in Maine, left outside, in 3 winters, has not been started in 3 years, and you can pull it out of that mud hole, sunk in, tires flat, 3 years it's been sitting there, and fire up, I would gladly see the most rusted to snot Briggs with a rat's nest coming out of the top of it than a Kohler any day. I'm not saying Kohlers are bad. They're actually really, really well designed motors. They're extremely mechanically sound motors, and they're extremely reliable when they run. But as far as what it is that I can pull out of some barn in the back of nowhere, or from behind a garage, or from out in a field, and get up and running the fastest to be able to sell it, without a question, it's a Briggs. The parts are interchangeable across tons of different platforms. In fact, what's really funny, if you ever deal with a Briggs V-twin, and you have a 12 horsepower flathead or any other Briggs flathead, the starters are interchangeable. Briggs decided to take the starter setup that was for flatheads, and they put an extended case on them, and they will fit onto a V-twin. And you can actually take a flathead, and as long as your V-twin is tuned right and you're not having any issues with your valve, you can swap it right directly over, get that thing up and running in order to test the rest of it, and then swap the actual starter on later. I've done that all kinds of times in order to be able to get them up and running at this point. The other thing that I like about Briggs as far as the starters is concerned is that if you have a horizontal or a vertical opposed, they are both the exact same starter. So that's another thing that I like. I like being able to swap them over. The big thing that I run into with Kohlers is that the gas system that is in a Kohler inevitably degrades with time. And the longer it sits, the worse that degradation is, and the more expensive the fix ends up being. I mean, a vacuum pump for a Briggs, you can pick them up all day long across Amazon as a group of them, a group of like 4 of them, you can find on Amazon for like $30. You can't even buy a single fuel pump for a Kohler for $30. So I can buy 4, 5, 6. I can buy 6 pumps for a Briggs for the cost of 1 Kohler pump. And that's another reason why it is you'll see Briggs mostly on my channel, is because I can hotwire a Briggs and I can get it up and running with all kinds of junkyard parts. Whereas with the Kohler, I'm consistently going, well, I ran into this. Now I got to wait and order this, and hopefully I'm right. All right. Let's see what other kind of questions we got going on. All right, so we got a statement about this. We got Old School Repair Shop says he uses it on, I'm going to assume the back of switches. So using it on switches to make them waterproof. Do you mean on the back of the switch, or do you mean on the front of the switch? Kind of confused by your statement, but I'm assuming you mean the back of it. But that's a good idea. I like that. Oh, the other thing that I use this for is I like to use it when I'm setting up 4-plug. Yeah, good job. Yeah, 4-point plugs for trailers. I like to splice in the wiring and solder it, and then totally paint the snot out of it with that stuff. And then I wrap it in black tape. So by the time I get done, it looks like a big gob of black tape, but you know what? There's no water going to get in there and corrode stuff. All right, let's see. Yes, I use it on spark plug wires, but have used it on Volkswagen cars to do seals, like on the power windows, also vacuum control. See, there we go. Another person confirms that they use it on vacuums also. Oh, you know, the other thing that you can do with this, speaking of spark plug wires, I have used this in the past. That's another thing I use it for. If you have a spark plug wire that a mouse or a rat has chewed through, you can actually pull the wire out, make sure that you have conductivity from the coil all the way through, and then you can be able to paint it with this in order to get the motor to fire. Now, the one thing that I will tell you from experience is that this will eventually break down when you use it on a spark plug wire. So it's merely a get out of the woods fix. It's not a permanent fix. It is a get out of the woods fix. What I will also add on to that is if you wrap the area in black electrical tape, you'll get a little bit longer life out of it to get it out of the woods, but it will do it. Let's see. What do we got going on here? What kind of truck do you like, Ford or Chevy? What kind of truck do I like, Ford or Chevy? See, that depends on what you're talking about as far as age. So, as far as age is concerned, okay, let's talk anything pre 1988ish, okay? Because around 88, 87 is when they started getting into this whole TBI, EFI, all that other kind of stuff. They started switching in. So pre 88, I don't care whether it's a Chevy or a Ford. I will gladly drive the snot out of it. I really like square body front end Chevy trucks. I think they look absolutely amazing. But on the same token, there is nothing that is sexier to me than a nice full size 72 Ford F-150, especially if it's done up in a dark paint color. I don't like the light brown color. I think that makes it look like, well, that stuff that comes out of you. You know which end. So, now, if we jump forward into, say, early 90s, okay? If you jump forward into early 90s when Chevy decided to go and get into the whole TBI thing, and then Ford decided to jump from TBI straight into EFI, more or less, I really like the Ford initiative to get into EFI and just do it. I think TBI was a sellout. Yes, they made a lot of really cool things using TBI. The 4.3 liter Vortec using TBI was an absolute beautiful motor. Paired that up with the Chevy 5-speed at the time, you could throw that in just about any pickup truck that Chevy made, and it would do everything it needed to. But that's really about the only one that I can think of that I really thought they did right. Because Ford at that point decided to immediately jump as fast as they could into EFI. And that's the thing that made the difference. The other thing that I like about Fords, especially in the late 89 all the way up through to 2000 and I think it's 2004 if I remember right, or 2003. My alternator, my power steering pump, and my front steering box, all of it, are all interchangeable. My alternator for my 2.3 liter all the way to my 5.8 from, I think it's 89 all the way up through to like 2003 is the same exact alternator. So if you buy one with a lifetime guarantee at AutoZone, and you make sure that you always register it underneath that exact same truck, whether you order it or not. Nobody heard that. My alternator thinks that it still lives in a 1993 Ford Ranger, but it's been in 4 other Fords. I didn't say that. But anyways, so if you take that alternator through that series of 90s Fords, the 2.3, the 2.3, the 2.5, the 3.0, the 4.0, and the 2 small block V8s all use the same alternator. They also, I'm pretty sure, all use the same power steering pump. They all use the same power steering pump pulleys, and they also use the same gearbox down underneath for steering. Oh, okay. Apparently, I've been corrected that Ford started EFI in 1986 on a 5.0. Cool. Thank you for the information and dropping it in. That's what this chat is for. It's for spreading information and working through things and helping each other. See, I had a 1989 Ford Probe that was EFI. It was a 2. 2.3 liter, I believe. I'm sure somebody will correct me on that. I absolutely love that thing. It was Patriot Blue, white racing stripes, and it absolutely flew around the corners. It was a very fun car to drive. I've never owned a vehicle since that was more fun to drive than that was. Let's see. Classic mobile home. You say you stop drinking, but you are drinking beer? Okay, well, Classic. Actually, this is a ginger ale. I don't drink, totally sober, have stayed that way ever since the day that I said that I would. I am totally clean. Now, that's not to say I'm against drinking. Actually, in all honesty, I'm not against drinking. I'm against people like myself that were incapable of controlling themselves on the amount of alcohol that they chose to drink. So, no, this is not a beer. This is a ginger ale. But good try, though. I like that you're paying attention. I like that you're trying to keep me on my toes. But good luck with your drinking. I believe it's spelt with an I, but maybe once you're beard to the point you drank, it is what it is. All right, let's see what else we can find. Do you sell stickers? If so, how much? By Hillbilly ATVs. Actually, Hillbilly, what I've ended up doing over the years is I have ended up giving away groups of stickers. I've tried selling them, and selling them just ends up in a big giant headache. So if you are smart enough to figure out how to send a self-addressed envelope with a stamp on it to my P.O. box. My P.O. box is listed in almost all of my videos in the description or at the end of a lot of my how-to videos that I produced in the last year. If you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope in an envelope to my P.O. box, I will send you 2 stickers. That goes to anybody that's on this chat or that sees this for the next month. I'll make it the next month. Anybody who is smart enough to figure out how to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to my P.O. box, I will check it once a week for the next month. And if I get a letter from you with a self-addressed envelope, I will send you 2 of my new stickers. All right. Classic Mobile Home says, I do not drink. I just cannot write good. In that case, Classic, please, the next time you want to give somebody issues about whether they do or do not drink, use a little bit better English. And I'm sure that it'll go over just exactly the same way it did on this live chat. Because I'll probably end up still saying something. I'm actually very proud of staying clean and off of alcohol. It's interesting to go and see the way that my children respond to it and everything. And it makes a big giant difference in my daily life on people and the way that they interact with me on a regular basis. But that's enough being up on top of the soapbox there. Let's get down to what's going on here. Let's see. I know what I was going to show you. So my wife is one of those women that when she goes into a Tractor Supply, there's chicks, there's chickens, there's ducks, there's turkeys, and there's stuff. Yeah. We managed to walk out of the Tractor Supply the other day without any chickens. It was a good day. Except for the problem is I walked past the cheap tools section and I didn't make it out. So I wanted to show you that. I got these at Tractor Supply. I thought these were cool. So I got these, which I thought were neat. They're etched. And what's interesting with them that I really like is that they've got, let me see if I can even get one of these off of here. Nope. That security thing that's in there is just insane. I don't know who came up with these, but they wanted to make sure you couldn't pop one off in the store. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm going to wait till I can put that on my bench and just slam those out with a, yeah, I have a brain here somewhere. Screwdriver. There, that's the term I was looking for. So, yeah, so they have, let me see if I can get it to focus on this. See that? That little etching right there? There it goes. They're grips. How cool is that? It's got a grip on the side of it. I can't even begin to tell you how many times, yes, Tractor Supply has these in the cheap tool bin, how many times I have wanted to be able to actually get a hold of this stupid thing. It's great. You need a cutting torch to get them off. Actually, I don't think you need a cutting torch. I think you just plain, I don't know, maybe I need a hammer or something. So look, I got metric, I got standard, Americana stupidity. There we go. Because America, and we haven't figured out that the metric system is what's taken over the rest of the world, so we still have America imperial something or other. And so I got those, and I thought that was pretty good. And then on top of that, to go with it, I found these on Amazon. So I found these nice little quick ones on Amazon. I'm going to make sure to put these in my Amazon store link because they're pretty sweet. And the top little pieces, you can buy them separately in order to replace them. So like if I grab this, whoop, so they're just twist locks. Come on. And of course the thing's not going to work while I'm trying to demonstrate. Oh, I grabbed a socket that's worn out. Okay, there we go. So as it is right now, it falls off and you just twist it and it stays. I love these little twist lock setups. I've got a couple of these now and I'm getting really used to them. And now that I've got them all converted to twist locks that all go the same way, by the way, that is something you have to watch out for if you're buying these twist locks, is that some of the Chinese companies making these as cheap as possible in order to sell them, they make their twist lock in order to stay away from copyright. They make their twist lock so it goes the opposite direction of the name brands. So if you get used to a right-handed twist lock like this is a right-handed one, watch and make sure that you buy right-handed twist locks. And the way that you can tell whether it's one or the other is that right here, see if I can get it to focus. Come on. Come on, do it right there. All right, see that little indent where it's different? It's directional. And so you need to watch your photos and make sure that you're buying something that's the same direction. But I thought those were cool. I'm going to make sure in the Amazon store to include these. So I got red and I got blue. That way I can have my metric marked off. And if you've ever seen my repair videos, you'll see that on my board over there, see if I can spin this around and point at it. Let's see here. See right there? See? So what I've taken to doing, because I work with the kids and stuff on a regular basis, is I've taken to painting my metric stuff blue and I paint my imperial red. And it makes it easier so that the kids just sort the wrenches and then stick them out by size. So I thought you guys would like that. And oh, this is a Duralast, by the way. I really like the Duralast lifetime guarantee ratchets. They're really cool. I think I'm going on 8 years with this one at this point, and I've never had to claim a lifetime guarantee on it. I have broken one of these, but I'm going to fully admit I was putting it under stress. It was never ever intended to. I was actually using it to break lug nuts off of an F-150, and they just would not go. I could not find my lug wrench that was the appropriate thing. So I stuck a bar on the end of this and I jacked up the vehicle, set it in underneath, and then released the jack so that it came down on it. And it was a little bit too much. So it will not hold up an entire F-150 axle, but they're still really good. I love them. Yep. But, oh, the other thing that I ended up picking up was I picked up this, Stanley set so that the kids could have something and be able to go and have something that they could work with. What I don't like, though, is I don't like the 12 point, but it is what it is. Okay, so now that I'm done babbling about what I ended up like picking up at Tractor Supply, let's see what else we can talk about here. Your video turned into infomercials. Sorry, I just had to share. I mean, what are you supposed to go and talk about for 2 hours when you guys are, you know, not asking too many comments? So I got to grab what I can find in order to be able to talk about stuff. You guys are a lot quieter this time than you were the last time. But we've also got less people tuning in this time, probably because of the giveaway last time. But we'll see. All right, let's see. What can we find for another comment? Let's see. My 1986 C30 is the best truck I ever owned. I could understand that. Actually, I had a K1500 with a 4.3 in it with a 5-speed. I put 360,000 miles on that. That actually is the highest mileage vehicle that I think I've had. I had 360,000 on that. I put 332,000 on a Ford Ranger. I had another K1500 that I think I put 280 on. But yeah, I mean, they'll go. It's all about how you maintain them more than anything. What I hate about the Ford Bronco back then was if you let off the throttle, it just kept going. Actually, that's a known issue with the 30, is it 302? I think it's the 302 or the 351 Windsor. No, it's the 351 Windsor that's a known issue with. There's something about the two flaps on the throttle that it gouges over time. But if you go in and you sand it down and then you put a secondary you put a secondary spring going from, it's a secondary spring going from your, you got your cable that comes from your throttle, it comes into the top, and then it's got the pin that comes down through that no, it's got a cap that goes over the top of the ball. If you put a spring from there across to your EGR solenoid, you can put a nice light throttle spring there, and that'll stop that from happening. All right, let's see. What do we got going on? Need cutting torches to get them off. I've debated cutting torches, except for the problem is then I detemper the sockets if they are actually tempered. So I think I'm going to stay away from that because I have a very bad habit of putting non-impact rated sockets on impact type stuff. You know what I mean. We all do it. I do the same thing, but the other way, better dead than red. Oh, so you paint your stuff also in order to help with like the kids and stuff? That's cool. I've gotten now, so I actually prefer that set to go and grab than the non-painted. The other thing that I've noticed over time is that the paint actually makes it so it's more grippable. I think that's a word. The paint actually makes it more grippable when it's covered in transmission fluid, engine oil, stuff like that. You know, if you drop your ego about it looking all chromy, pretty, and polishy, and you actually paint it, excuse me, got a burp in it, you can get a lot more grip when it's actually covered in stuff. The other thing I've noticed is that if you're like me and you use a lot of anti-seize, for some reason the anti-seize doesn't seem to work on the Rust-Oleum paint. And so if they're painted with Rust-Oleum like mine are and your hands are covered with a bunch of anti-seize, you'll still be able to get grip on the painted side. That's the other reason why I really like having them painted. I mean, yes, it looks stupid. People point it out all the time, but I don't care. That 5 seconds worth of paint job has saved me 100 times over when it comes to telling one of the kids to go get something. All right. Does not seem like an infomercial to me. Well, I'm glad. You know, I'm trying to show you guys stuff that I do or that I like or that I bought because it was helpful. You know, yes, I will totally admit that if you guys go to my Amazon store and you buy something through my Amazon store, that I make like 25 cents. I made, I think it was $2.80, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And I think somebody bought a spool of, welding wire. So I made like 50 cents and, oh, the mower blades. If you buy the mower blades that I have listed for the Craftsman's, the Max Powers, if you buy those through the site, I make like 22 cents or something like that. So, you know, it's always nice if you guys want to help out and just, you know, purchasing through that, it allows me to be able to buy a cup of coffee later. What do I think of Onan engines? My answer to the Onan engine question is the same exact thing that I have about Kohlers. If I could get parts, they're great. But the problem is, unless you're dealing with somebody like iSaveTractors.com or something like that, nobody has parts for them. And so I tend to avoid them like the plague. Throttle position sensor on a 351 Windsor is one reason. Yeah, the TPS sensors on 351 Windsors definitely can do some pretty stupid stuff. Yeah, both of my plow trucks at some point ate a TPS sensor in the middle of a snowstorm. So I now carry one on hand at this point. Hey, Fire and Gasoline's here. If you guys are subscribed to me, you need to be subscribed also to Fire and Gasoline. He's a really cool YouTuber. He does a lot of new stuff. He's like me. He doesn't like doing builds that are the same generic cookie cutter build. He likes to do, or it's a group of guys. They like to do builds that are like what I do, where they're a playoff on the they're a playoff on a normal concept done in their own abstract way. I really like their stuff. You should go check them out. If anybody is here and you're not subscribed to them and you're subscribed to me, you should be subscribed to both. Fire and Gasoline, you totally have my endorsement, and I hope you guys grow because your channel's doing really well, and I like your content. So I'm giving that as a big giant shout out right now. Let's see. Okay, what else we got? Gives them more grip. Toot, toot, toot. Ah, we got another person saying they paint their wrenches also. Yep. See, I wanted the etched sockets. I've never had etched sockets. So I'm really interested to see how the etching stands up when they're covered in grease, when they're covered in, whatever ick and film and stuff like that. Because the thing about when you have a regular socket, like this, where they're grooved. So if we got our Stanley here, let's see if it'll focus. Okay, so that won't do it. But if you got a regular socket that is grooved, one of the things about being grooved is that when you get grime on it and you wipe it, the groove stays a dark color because of the grime while you're working. So it means it's actually easier to read when it's dirty. That's a weird concept. But yeah, I'm a stickler for setting my sockets onto those bars and stuff like I was just showing you. I love them. But it's just a tool show. Well, do you want to see more tools? If you guys do, I actually have 2 brand spanking new items that just came in. I've got 2 items that have not been on the show that are sent in by sponsors for the show. So if you guys are actually interested in seeing tools or seeing random things I think are cool around the shop, feel free to go and say something. I'll post up different things. But let's see. What part of Maine are you in? From Kawasaki Nation. Kawasaki Nation, I'm in Mid-Coast, Maine. That's about the closest that I will say that I am to where I am. It's pretty easy with some creepy Google searching in order to figure out where it is I actually live. But for the sake of just general purpose, I say that I'm in Mid-Coast, Maine. Oh, interesting newsy type thing. So I ended up going to a ATV meet. It's a group that's probably about half an hour, 45-minute drive away from here, and they're going to potentially, as long as I have a legally registered mud mower as an ATV, they're going to potentially let me go on a couple of little rides and things like that. I'm going to see about joining their group and checking them out. And I don't want to say the group's name right now because it's still an up in air, but they were really open to the idea of mud mowers. So we're going to see what happens there, but they were really open about it, and we'll see what happens. Let's see a garage burnout. No. I've tried doing garage burnout videos. That never turns out well. Something always gets broken or I get hurt. So we're going to stay away from the garage burnout video. Always about the tools, anything that makes it easier. I agree. I agree. I like tools that help with specific little stupid things. But do you want to see classic mobile homes? Do you mean like Slipstream trailers? Maybe explain that one a little bit. I mean, yeah, I like mobile. I like being able to go camping. I guess that's the question. Can I show you my mud mower? Actually, Mud Wizard is all the way on the other end, and currently the grill needs to be fixed. I apparently forgot that I had undone the brakes in order to put new puck pieces in, and I never ended up tightening it back up, and I slammed into the back of the gas-powered power wheel. So I've currently got a big chunk about that big missing out of the front of my grill that I've got to decide what I'm going to do because I'm an idiot. Straight up, I had a stupid moment. I took it apart, I put it back together with the new pucks in it, and I totally forgot that I needed to take it out for a test drive and readjust it. So I'll have the mud mower out soon. It's just about the cusp of mud season here in Maine, and we'll be able to get it out and play around and go do stuff. But I actually still have almost 6 to 8 inches of ice in the pond right now. So I can't even take it down to my testing area right now. I still have snow out on my lawn and everything. But yeah, it'll be out soon. Show the tools. Junkyard says show the tools. Okay, I got a cool tool. I'll show you. I just got sent this by a company that's working on getting into automotive diagnostics. And so they sent me this little bugger. And I'm going to read off the side tag on it because the box is about as descriptive as a tomato. So here's what the side tag says on it. Wireless endoscope for iPhone or Android. Like it's 1080p. It's Wi-Fi for inspections. Now, this thing is actually really neat. I wasn't planning on actually like doing too much with it in the video other than just showing the bore on the inside of a motor that I'm going to be rebuilding. And so I'm going to be rebuilding a motor pretty soon. I wanted to be able to check the inside without having to tear the heads off in order to find out whether it was worth rebuilding. So that's why I reached out, and they got a hold of me back about this. So it is a it is not Bluetooth. It is standard wireless. And this actually transmits its own wireless signal as if it was a router, which is weird. It doesn't work through Bluetooth. It works as if it is a router transmitting. And the reason for this is because the signal that comes from a wireless router will actually go through things that Bluetooth will not. And so if you're running around using this for diagnostics, here's our little camera here. If you're running around using this for diagnostics, this will transmit through metal, It'll transmit through fiberglass. It'll transmit through all kinds of things that Bluetooth will not transmit through. And the other thing is the distance that it'll transmit. Theoretically, this thing should be able to transmit upwards of 50 to 100 feet away. So this, as long as it's within 50 to 100 feet of this, should be able to receive photos. And the other thing that's interesting is that you can control the photo taking from this, and you can control the photo taking from this. I thought it was really neat. I've actually fired it up a couple of times and used it, but we're going to end up pulling this into a video on a motor that we're going to be working on pretty soon and get things up and running. I got a hold of a motor for the rototiller that's in a lot of my subscriber update videos. I still have no idea what in the world keeps that stupid Briggs & Stratton 3.5 up and running. That 3.5 that is in there just does not want to die. It obviously has piston ring problems. It smokes. It barfs. It has a choke that is what it is. We're going to see if it'll kick back to life one last time here in the spring. And then after that, I'm going to rip that engine off of that tiller. We're going to fix the bearings in it. We're going to fix the shafts in it. We're going to fix the seals, and we're going to throw the tiller back together as part of the channel with a new motor on it. The 3.5 is what it is. I'm going to end up junking it out most likely. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll get it up and running long enough to shoot it with a gun or something. I haven't quite decided. I mean, what would you do? If I could get it up and running one more time, in what way would you think it would be cool to kill it? I mean, it's a Briggs 3.5. It has a side draft. No, it has an up and over carburetor, whatever those ones are, where it's got like the weird Venturi pull in it. Feed it some nitrous. Actually, I've debated multiple times converting it over to a propane canister. I might try that just for the heck of it. If I can't get the carb up and running with gas, I might convert it over to propane just long enough to get it running and see if it'll blow. But, all right. All right, let's see. What do we got? We got cool tools. That's what she said. Okay. You win. Snow romp. You know, I get a lot of people that talk about snow romping, and the problem is snow romping really is probably the most cool romping for the person riding. But it's an absolute boring thing to watch in video. I've done snow romps before, and I rode around in them, and I shot the video for them, and I thought I was cool and having fun, and it was enjoyable for me. But the videos themselves look absolutely totally. Ooh, geez, ginger ale's got more burps in it. They look absolutely just boring. So I don't tend to do snow romp videos because there's no mud flying, there's no whatever. And Boondock Manor, what you drinking? Oh, it's ginger ale. It's Reed's Ginger Ale. You can pick them up at Hannaford's since you're in Maine. And this is Jamaican, which is the one that I really like. Yeah, I really like the red top crispy ginger ales. I like that they burn, I guess. I used to be a whiskey drinker back when I was an alcoholic, and so therefore I really like Jamaican ginger ale. Jamaican ginger ales tend to be on the spicier side. The yellow top is very mild. Think of like your standard ginger ale that you buy the soda pop, 18 pack, only slightly spicier. And then stuck a little bit of tobacco sauce in it, spicier, I guess, would be the way I'd describe it. And then, of course, you know, I've got my coffee cup of coffee. Yeah. Kids. Okay. So what else we got going on here? I have one of those plugs into the phone. It's a game changer when working on things. I think mine was $5 on eBay. Yeah, I've used the endoscope a couple of times already. I believe they retail for like 30 something. Give me just a sec. Let me find the, you know, I love the thing actually. I've used it quite often on a couple of different things. Let me see if I can find the link here. I would love to know what is up with the internet connection that is at my house. It is being stupid. Let's see if that'll work. Nope, wrong thing. Stupid thing. Wait a minute. Hold up. Yes. Thank you very much, Facebook, for eating my link. That's awesome. I'm very quickly coming to the point of realizing that I just should not bother having Facebook open at the same time I'm trying to do these live streams because it just causes stupid things to happen. Okay, well, sorry guys. I guess I will stick the link in down below when this live stream ends, and I'll post up a link so you guys can see the scope. And when I do the video on rebuilding the well, I won't be rebuilding the entire motor, but you'll understand when you see the video. But I'll get that figured out. But oh, you guys want to go and hear this you guys want to hear this snowblower? This thing sounds like insanity when it kicks over. But either way. Let's see. Okay, so what are we going here? Feed it some nitrous. I wish. If I had nitrous in order to go and feed it, I definitely would. I would shoot it. See, the problem is I'm debating whether YouTube's stupidity right now will allow me to shoot it without it becoming some sort of violent action and them deciding to yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's see. Regarding the 3.3, I think say auction it off. The 3.5 is just not worth auctioning off. I really honestly don't know why it is that it stays running. Nitro fuel in it from an RC. That I like. I really wonder what that would do. I'm going to have to go and look up on it. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm going to have to see what nitro fuel for an RC car has in it that's different. And I'll see if that's doable. That might be something I might do. Yeah, I'll look into that. The RC car nitrous. That's a good idea. Canada Dry ginger ale is the best, hands down. I really like Canada Dry, and when I don't have this, I usually do drink Canada Dry. The thing is I was a whiskey drinker for so many years that when I'm calming down or I'm chilling out at the end of the day, and for lack of a better way to say it, when I'm pissed off, I need spicy. It calms me and it chills me out, and I'm no longer a drunk because of it. So I will forever preach Jamaican ginger ale to anybody that's a whiskey drinker that's trying to cut it out. Let's see. So Boondock Mena, I'm trying to get rid of my 99 Grand Cherokee. I believe it needs a piston. Oh. 4.0 inline, 4-inch lift, many new parts, great running gear in Auburn. Body great, make an offer. They go check out the main marketplace and go buy Boondock Mainer's Jeep. Yeah, I don't know what to go and say about the needs a piston. Did you decide to go and run a compression test down across? Now, I don't remember what year series it is, but there is a 4.0 series. I think it's the 3rd generation head, is notorious for blowing out, I think it's the valve stem area of the head, and it ends up losing compression and the engine won't run right. So you might want to look into that, whether it's your series of motor, and maybe it's fixable. But do I have a racing mower? I don't. The thing is, the nearest racing location from me is in a place called Luben, Maine, and it's almost a 3-hour drive for me from where I live. There's another larger YouTuber that built a supposed racing mower who actually only lives about 45 minutes away from there. Maybe someday I'll have to go and build something and do a call out. But no, I don't have any intentions of building a racing mower because there's just no place to race. They actually debated putting in lawn tractor racing at one of the mud run places that I go. They're still talking about it. They haven't decided to actually do it. If they do, and it's within an hour or so, then yes, I will try to go and build a racing mower just because it adds to the channel and I would love to try it someday. But I'm not going to build a racing mower to have no place to race. That's the big thing. So yes, I would love to do that, but yeah. Use liquid tape when you stick your link in. Okay, Barry. I will make sure to stick my link in with my liquid tape. All right, so oh yes, okay, so Premix Garage. Okay, so Premix Garage has kicked in, and thank you, Premix. I had totally forgotten about that. So it was actually about this time we started telling some old stories and stuff about my childhood growing up. And we were talking about different things, injuries, things like that on the last live stream. And one of the things that I told everybody was the next time that you come back, I want you to remind me about Nike shoes and an axe. And Premix got it pretty close. You remind about a hatchet and Nike shoes. So we were talking about stories and we were talking about things from our childhood that we're never going to forget and all those kind of weird things. So wait a minute. In order to make this work the most, okay, I gotta grab something for a demonstration item here because this requires demonstration. Okay. Here we go. This will work. Oh, I need a knife. Okay. All right. So we got our knife. Okay. So back when I was a teenage kid, I used to play paintball. I used to play paintball quite often. And we were working on building a paintball course down behind my parents' house. And my buddy had come over, and my buddy was a city boy. We'll word it that way. My buddy was a city boy. And he came over, and my mom grew up very Hickville, and had just taken an axe and had sharpened it to perfect shaving your hair perfection. So this brand spanking new axe, brand spanking newly sharpened, because the sharpening that they do at the store just wasn't good enough for what it is that she thought was good. So she made sure it was shave your beard off sharp. And he grabs it. Now, this is a city boy, mind you. He grabs it and he goes out and he comes down on a tree. And he comes down on the tree and he comes down on it. And we both started to say something like, no, 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 you need to put the axe down. And on his third swing, he comes down through and he misses the tree. And he drives that axe right straight through the front of his Nike shoes. And we're all just kind of in shock. And here he is standing there, perplexed, looking at his foot, looking at the axe going through his shoe, in his foot, and just kind of lifts it up. And he looks at the axe, and he looks down, and all of a sudden this wide cut like this in his shoe just goes with blood everywhere, just fills, streaming out. And so we go down to the ER, and we get into the ER, and the doctor comes in, and his toe, instead of being a normal toe, he had sliced it perfectly down the center. And what had happened, let me grab my demonstrational tool, is he had hit his big toe so perfectly on center that he filleted or split his bone inside of his toe in two pieces. The tip bone of his big toe was split into two pieces. So they filleted out everything. So all of his flesh was out here. They then took a piece of they took a piece of the stitch, and they roped it around this, and they tied it into a bundle in three places. And then they proceeded to stitch up and over his toe through his nail. They drilled little potholes through his nail to stitch through his toe in order to put it back together. And so that is my city boy story about why they should not touch axes. I've never managed to go and get the look of his face when that axe was just there in the ground going through his foot, and the horrified look on my mother's face of the, oh my God, I just sharpened it face. But that's just one of the stories from growing up in the backwoods here in Maine and dealing with the interesting interactions with people that have never touched farm machinery or chainsaws or anything other, other items related to that kind of thing. But it just, that filleted out bone right there with the two sides, and the doctor comes in and he like spins around the string and just, and all of a sudden slaps it together, and it made like the most sickening noise going in. And he was like, oh, that's just the cartilage that's just settling underneath because you split it all the way to your knuckle on the front of your toe. But it was one of those things that you're never going to forget, the way that it looked or the way that it sounded or those kind of things. So I think of that toe every single time that I sharpen an axe now. And I leave my axe just a little on the duller side now. You're welcome for telling the story, and thank you very much for reminding me. I totally had forgotten about it. You know, these 2-hour live streams, you know, it just it is what it is. I get caught up in them. I really enjoy doing these, and I'm glad that you guys are stopping in and giving questions. Let's see. All right. Doctor comes in with liquid tape. Actually, one of the common ways that we deal with cuts when we're out in the woods and stuff is paper towel and super glue. If you end up with a really, really bad cut that fillets out, you take and you roll over, you take a piece of like 1x1 paper towel. There we go. See, we're getting towards the end of the thing and I'm losing my brains here. So you take a piece of paper towel about an inch and a half or so, you fold it in threes, and then you hold it across whatever it is you sliced open, and you put super glue across it, and it'll seal it, and then you can seal down the cut on either side. And you can do that out in the woods and stuff. It works pretty good. But I guarantee you're going to want a piece of leather or something to go and bite down on when you do it because it's painful. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's painful. Let's see. Do you got a RC? I'm going to assume you mean RC car. Actually, I've gotten really into doing the WPLs. John and I actually have one that we built from stock to the solid axle setups, the metal axles with metal gears, and we did the metal drive shafts. And I just put the 2-speed center gearbox upgrade into it. And we're going to probably do the transponder later on. And I'm actually debating doing a side YouTube channel for WPL mods. There's like this weird love-hate relationship between RC car enthusiasts being too hoity-toity for WPL, and yet like this really weird like ragtag WPL group. And I've been debating, like, if you look up WPL, you'll find all kinds of stuff on you can find all kinds of stuff on Wish, and Amazon has started having a lot of WPL aftermarket showing up. So I've debated doing some sort of WPL video series on a different channel and entirely dedicated to that channel. It wouldn't be on this channel. This channel is going to stay to the homesteading, and stuff that I do as far as the mechanical stuff and things like that here. I don't intend to expand into RC cars on this channel. If I do, it'll be an alternative opening. Starting to lose my voice, which is part of the reason why I declared this 2-hour thing. Talking consistently for 2 hours is really hard on the voice. But, okay. You should make a mud mower RC. I actually already have ideas towards that. I currently already have ideas towards the idea of an RC-ish type lawn tractor build. I haven't quite decided what I think I can really do with it. I'm going to give away too much information right now as to why it is it won't be a mud mower build, but at the same time, it also might be a mud mower build if I can come up with a way to compensate for it. And the real reality is, if you look up RC controlled lawn tractors, what you're going to find is that all of them are hydros. And anybody that does mud mowers knows that a hydro is not what you want for doing the mud. So I might do an RC controlled lawn tractor and then maybe a couple other ideas to go with it. We'll see. I have been looking into it. I am thinking about doing something, but we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna read down through this last 5 or 6 comments that you got going on down here, and then we're gonna probably end up calling it quits. It's almost 9 o'clock, and like I said, I'm starting to lose my voice towards the end of this 2-hour thing. This is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing this with you guys. The crowd is growing. We're starting to get more consistent people in here. The comments are great. I really appreciate it. And I enjoy being able to show you guys little things in the shop and stuff that I'm doing and all that other kind of fun stuff. I've got an up and coming video on the RC. Great, thanks guys. You got me on RC thinking now. On the snowblower that I just got done for the GT6000, and so I'm going to be putting that out. Unfortunately, there wasn't the kind of snow I really wanted by the time I got done, but I'm going to explain why it is that that build took way longer than it should have in a future video. There's a couple of things that have been going on and different shifts that are going on in my life, and there will be a follow-up video on why that is and why it is I'm around more than I have been and where that's going at this point. But for now, I'll explain it in the future. All right, so I use moss and duct tape or wire tape for my wounds. Premix Garage, little known fact. Double check the version of duct tape that you are using. Duct tape actively, honest to God, actual duct tape has a do not use on medical wounds rating. And the reason being is because the stuff that's used in the sticky is actually toxic to your bloodstream. And so you're better off using black tape that unfortunately doesn't stick as well than you are to use duct tape. So always use black tape first, duct tape second. And if you are using duct tape, make sure that you have something that keeps it away from the active blood flow. Never use duct tape directly on anything that is seeping blood, because it can get into your bloodstream and it can actually cause you other problems. I stuck a sickle in my leg when I was young. Wasn't a good time. Yeah, that would suck. I actually ended up putting I actually put a nail about that big right straight through the bottom of not one, but both of my feet when I was younger and at different times. I jumped off of a tree branch and I landed on what used to be a old shed. And when I went through what was originally the roof of the shed, there was a nail coming up through and drove straight through my foot. And then again, I was helping somebody do some chainsaw work and I jumped off of this banking and I landed on some sort of lean-to somebody had built or something like that. It was under so much moss that nobody knew it was even there. And when I went crashing onto it, I drove an old blacksmith nail right straight through the side of my left foot. All right. So, everybody here, all 21 of you, we're going to call that good. I really appreciate you logging in. I really appreciate you taking the time to stay here and give me ideas, comments, and I will try to go and make sure that I have more content to go and show you guys in 2 weeks. I won't be next week. It will be 2 weeks before I'm back again. We're going to try to keep to the 2-week schedule. And the reason being is because my family and I really want to be able to go camping, but we still want to be able to maintain the YouTube interaction. So we're going to try and keep it to 2 weeks unless for some reason we have to go and cut it short. Everybody have fun. I'm going to try and get my voice back so that I can shoot some how-to videos on the Ford Explorer And if I have a raspy voice, it's all of your fault tomorrow. Have a good night.